I love cars. I always have, and as far as I can tell, I always will. I don't quite have a reason for why, since I didn't adopt this love of cars from any of my family or friends, but I do anyway. It could be from the movie Cars or my childhood collection of Hot Wheels, but whatever the reason, I love cars, and this was why I decided to focus on them for my English 101 class. At the start of the year, when we were tasked with coming up with a topic that we would explore throughout the year, I chose cars, since I've always wanted to dive into that realm from an exploratory and research based perspective, and I was given that chance. I particularly wanted to focus on traditional combustion engine vehicles since I am somewhat of a gearhead myself. So when it came to the time to write the first essay, an inquiry essay that attempts to ask and answer a question, I decided to ask the question of, are combustion engines going extinct? And if they are, why? After doing the research and making an effort to answer this in a way that was as unbiased as possible, I came to the conclusion that while green power is on the rise, we will likely never reach a point where every vehicle on the road is electric, and if we did, it will not be for a very long time. The cause being global economic reasons, consumer financial reasons, the value of gas cars in certain cultures, the feel of electric cars from the driver's perspective, and so much more. One thing you may notice, though, is that I didn't address the carbon footprint, which is arguably the biggest reason for switching to alternative power sources. I did this because there is already so much information about which is worse for the environment or which is better and why, so I took the approach of addressing all of the other reasons which apply to people more personally. I could have chosen to write an entire essay about the environmental effects alone, but I didn't because that's not the whole picture. In an article I read from The Guardian by Rowan Atkinson, he said that he liked electric cars, but he felt they lacked soul, which is a sentiment that I and so many others echo. This idea was also what partly drove me to argue for the protection of combustion engines in my thesis essay, the second essay we wrote for this class. I felt that the wants and needs of the consumer population in America was not met by the current electric car market, which is why an electrified future is possible, but its current implementation is premature. In a podcast I listened to from SAE Tomorrow Today about the potential resurgence in combustion engines, the experts on the podcast stated that there is still a lot of room to improve upon current combustion-based engine technology. And additionally, there is also a lot of room to improve upon current electric technology and infrastructure before they can be fully implemented in the US. All of this is to say that I love cars, and I will attempt to defend traditional gas cars as long as I live. I recognize the need for an environmental protection, but with gas-powered cars being compared to dying arts like vinyl and film photography, we have to appreciate them for what they have been and what they currently are.